My family left me paralyzed after accidentally pushing me off a cliff. When I walked again, I made sure they never would. Hey dear friends. If this story touches you, support us by subscribing and letting us know your location in the comments. Now let's continue this story together. I still remember the feeling of air rushing past my face. That split second when I knew, this wasn't an accident. Whoops. She slipped. My sister Jasmine's voice echoed above me, but I'd felt her hands. Both hands. Flat against my spine. Pushing. The hiking trail overlooked a rocky canyon, the kind families take photos at during reunions. We'd come here to reconcile, Mama said. After I'd gotten the settlement from Grandma Ryby's estate, $200,000 she'd left specifically to me, my family suddenly wanted to heal old wounds. I should have known better. My body hit the first outcropping 20 feet down. I heard the crack before I felt it, my spine shattering like glass. Then I tumbled, smashing against rocks, each impact stealing another piece of my future. When I finally stopped, wedged between two boulders, I couldn't feel anything below my waist. Above me, silhouettes gathered at the cliff's edge. Mama, Daddy, Jasmine, and my brother Leroy. They stood there for what felt like hours but was probably 30 seconds. No one screamed for help. No one climbed down. We should go get help, Leroy finally said, his voice flat. Yeah, Daddy agreed. Let's head back to the cars. Then they left. They just left me there. I lay bleeding, paralyzed, staring at the darkening sky as the sun set. Hours passed. The cold set in. I drifted in and out of consciousness, each time waking up alone. That's when I understood, they weren't coming back. They wanted me dead. If this story resonates with you so far, please subscribe, we're just getting started. A dog saved my life. Not my family, a golden retriever named Biscuit. His owner, an elderly hiker named Mr. Moore, had taken an evening walk when Biscuit pulled him off trail, barking frantically. Mr. Moore later told me he almost turned back, but something in Biscuit's urgency made him follow. Jesus Christ, he'd gasped when he found me. How long have you been here? I couldn't speak. My lips were blue, my body hypothermic. He called 911 immediately, stayed with me, covered me with his jacket. You're going to be okay, he kept saying, though his trembling hands betrayed his fear. The paramedics arrived with a rescue team. They stabilized my spine, hauled me up that cliff with ropes and a stretcher. At the hospital, a nurse asked who to call. My family, I whispered, still naive enough to think they'd care I survived. Mama answered on the first ring. Oh my God, Tanisha. Thank Jesus. We looked everywhere for you. We called park rangers, we've been searching all night. Lies. All lies. But the nurse didn't know that. Neither did the doctors who praised my devoted family when they rushed into my ICU room 6 hours later, tears streaming down their faces. Baby girl, Daddy sobbed, gripping my hand. We were so worried. I wanted to scream. To tell everyone they'd left me to die. But something stopped me. The way Jasmine squeezed my shoulder just a little too hard, leaning close to whisper, the money's already transferred to Mama's account. Your phone and ID fell off the cliff. So tragic. My blood ran cold. Complete spinal cord injury at T12L1. Dr. Martinez's words felt like another fall. I'm sorry, Tanisha. The damage is extensive. You'll likely never walk again. Never. That word echoed in the sterile hospital room while my family performed their Oscar-worthy grief. Mama collapsed in a chair, wailing. Leroy punched the wall. Jasmine buried her face in Daddy's chest. I watched them numb. Not from shock, from recognition. I was seeing them clearly for the first time. We'll take care of you, baby, Mama promised, stroking my hair with the same hands that had forged my signature on bank documents. You'll come live with us. Family takes care of family. The social worker, Ms. Rodriguez, smiled. You're blessed to have such support. Many spinal cord injury patients face this alone. If only she knew. Over the next 3 weeks, as I learned to exist in a broken body, the truth crystallized. They hadn't just stolen my money, they'd planned this. Jasmine had suggested the hike. Leroy had insisted we go to that specific trail, saying it had special meaning to Grandma Ryby. Daddy had positioned himself behind me at the cliff's edge, then stepped aside at the last moment. Mama? She'd been standing closest to the parking lot, ready to leave. I started writing everything down in a notebook Ms. Rodriguez gave me. Dates, conversations, inconsistencies in their stories. When Detective Morris came to take my statement about the accident, I told him exactly what they wanted to hear. I slipped. I don't remember much. Just my loving family trying to grab me. His eyes lingered on mine. He didn't believe me. But without evidence, what could he do? They moved me into their house 3 months post-injury. Not my childhood home. Mama and Daddy had sold that years ago when their finances collapsed. This was a cramped rental with narrow hallways and no wheelchair accessibility. We'll make it work, Mama said cheerfully as Leroy and Daddy struggled to maneuver my wheelchair through the front door, scraping paint off the frame. My room was a converted storage space off the kitchen. No door, just a curtain. No privacy. I could hear everything. Their conversations, their laughter, their lives continuing while mine had ended. That first night, I heard them celebrating in the living room. 200,000, Daddy said. Minus the 30 we already spent, leaves 170. We should pay off the car first, Leroy suggested. Hell no, Jasmine interjected. I need new equipment for my salon. Mama promised me 50. They argued for an hour about how to divide my inheritance. Not once did anyone mention using it for my care. My medical bills. My physical therapy. My future. I lay there in the dark, tears sliding silently down my face, and something inside me shifted. The grief hardened into something else. Something cold and calculating. They thought they'd broken me. They thought I'd be dependent, compliant, grateful even. They'd underestimated one crucial thing. I was Ruby's granddaughter. She hadn't been a woman who accepted defeat. She'd been a fighter who taught me that sometimes, you have to burn the whole garden down to grow something new. I started planning. I began with Dr. Keisha Williams, a private investigator I found online. Using the emergency credit card the hospital had given me, one my family didn't know about, I hired her. I need you to track financial transactions, I told her during our first call, speaking in whispers while my family slept. Specifically, a transfer of $200,000 from my grandmother's estate account. Dr. Williams was a black woman in her 50s with silver locks and sharp eyes. She met me at the house under the guise of being a home healthcare consultant. My family barely looked at her. They saw a social worker type and dismissed her immediately. In my storage room prison, she sat close. Tell me everything. I did. The pushed knot slipped. The hours alone on that cliff. The forged signatures. The whispered threat from Jasmine. Do you have any proof? She asked. Not yet. But I will. She left me with a small recording device disguised as a charging cable. Keep this plugged in near common areas. Let them talk. People like this always get comfortable. They did. Within 2 weeks, I had recordings of Mama and Daddy discussing how they'd taken care of the Ruby problem. Of Jasmine bragging to her boyfriend about convincing that stupid bitch to go hiking. Of Leroy laughing about how I fell for it. Every word was poison. Every laugh was a knife. But I collected them all, building my case like Grandma Ruby had taught me to build anything. One solid piece at a time. Dr. Williams came back with financial records. They forged your signature on the estate transfer form 3 days before the hiking trip. I found the notary they bribed. She's willing to testify for immunity. My hands shook holding those documents. Most patients in your condition lose hope, my physical therapist, Andre, said during our first session. But I see something different in your eyes. Rage. I suggested. He laughed. Determination. Andre was a former athlete who'd rehabilitated from his own spinal injury. He understood. 3 times a week, Mama would drive me to the rehabilitation center, complaining the entire way about gas money and her sacrifice time. You're so ungrateful, Tanisha, she'd say. After everything we've done for you. I'd smile and nod, letting her think I was beaten down. But in therapy I fought like my life depended on it, because it did. Andre pushed me harder than anyone thought possible. Electrical stimulation. Assisted standing. Core strengthening. Hours of excruciating work that most patients quit. There's a new experimental treatment. Andre mentioned 6 months into therapy. Epidural stimulation combined with intensive training. It's helped some T12 injuries regain partial function. Maybe even walking with assistance. What's the catch? It's expensive. $80,000. Insurance covers maybe 10%. My heart sank, then hardened. How do I apply? That night I heard Jasmine in the kitchen. Mama, Tanisha's been asking about her medical bills. Says she wants to see the statements. Ignore her, Mama replied. She doesn't need to worry about that. They'd been receiving my disability payments, $1,400 monthly. Every cent went into their pockets while they complained about the burden of caring for me. I lay in my curtained prison and made a decision. I get that treatment. Somehow. Even if I had to destroy them to do it. Her name was Patricia, and she was Daddy's older sister, the family member everyone had been warned to avoid. Aunt Pat's crazy, Mama always said. Bitter and jealous. Now I wondered what truth that lie had covered. I found her on social media and messaged her. Asterisk Aunt Pat, this is Tanisha. I need to tell you what really happened. Asterisk. She responded within an hour. Asterisk, I've been waiting for you to reach out. I'll be there tomorrow. Asterisk. When she arrived, Mama's face went white. Patricia, you're not welcome here. I'm visiting my niece, Aunt Pat said, rolling me outside before anyone could stop her. She was 63 with gray-streaked hair and Grandma Ryby's same fierce eyes. We went to a coffee shop. She listened to everything. The push, the theft, the recordings, the financial abuse. I knew it, she finally said, tears streaming. When Reby made you her primary beneficiary, bypassing her own children, she knew. She knew what they were. Why did she cut them out? Because 15 years ago they tried the same thing with her. Convinced her to sign over her house. Your mama forged documents. Reby caught them just in time, changed her will, but she kept the peace for family's sake. Aunt Pat gripped my hand. She left you that money as protection and opportunity. She wanted you to escape them. Instead, they crippled me. No, baby. They tried to break you. There's a difference. He pulled out a checkbook. Reby left me something too. Not money, her life insurance policy. $50,000. I want you to have it. Get that treatment. Walk again. Then we burn this whole family down together. I stared at the check she wrote, hands trembling. Why would you do this? Because Reby was my sister. And you're her legacy. The good one. The experimental program accepted me immediately. Dr. Sarah Wilson, a neurologist specializing in spinal cord injuries, examined my scans with cautious optimism. Your injury, while severe, has some incomplete areas. The epidural stimulator might activate dormant pathways. Combined with intensive therapy, you could potentially regain some motor function. Potentially. Maybe. I clung to those uncertain words like lifelines. The surgery happened on a Tuesday. Aunt Pat stayed with me, the only family member who showed up. Mama had been too busy with Jasmine's salon opening. Leroy was working. Daddy didn't even call. Their absence was freedom. Recovery was agony. The stimulator sent electrical pulses through my spine, making muscles I'd forgotten I had twitch and spasm. Dr. Wilson and Andre worked me 6 hours daily. Assisted standing. Weight shifting. Trying to activate neural pathways that trauma had severed. Think about moving your toes, Andre coached. Don't try to force it. Just think about it. I thought. I concentrated. I prayed to Grandma Ryby's memory. My right toe twitched. Oh my God, I whispered. Andre's face broke into a massive grin. We've got something to work with. The next 3 months blurred together. Pain, sweat, tears, and microscopic victories. A toe wiggle became an ankle flex. An ankle flex became a knee bend. A knee bend became standing with full support. I didn't tell my family any of this. Let them think I was still helpless. Still broken. Still dependent. Meanwhile, Dr. Williams was building the criminal case. The forged documents. The financial abuse. The recordings. Everything was coming together. We're almost ready, she told me during a secret meeting. Just a little longer. I came home from therapy to find Mama selling my wheelchair. You don't need this medical grade one, she said to the buyer at our doorstep. A basic transport chair works fine for someone who just sits around anyway. The medical chair cost $4,000. She was selling it for $800. That's my chair, I said from Aunt Pat's car. Mama's face hardened. And I'm your mother. I make decisions about what's necessary. This money goes toward household expenses you create. The buyer, a middle-aged white man, looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, if this is her chair. It's fine, Mama snapped. The sale is final. Aunt Pat started to get out, but I stopped her. Let her sell it. Because I wouldn't need it much longer. That night, I overheard the conversation that severed my last emotional tie to these people. Tanisha's getting too comfortable, Jasmine said. She's been asking about the estate again. About Grandma Ruby's jewelry. The jewelry's already sold, Mama replied. She doesn't need to know that. What if she gets suspicious? Leroy asked. What if she talks to a lawyer? Silence. Then Daddy spoke, his voice chilling. Who'd believe a paralyzed girl over her devoted family? Besides, accidents happen. If she became too much trouble, if she fell wrong during a transfer, head injuries in wheelchair users aren't uncommon. They were discussing killing me. I recorded every word. Then I made a call to Detective Morris, the one who'd investigated my accident. I'm ready to talk, I said. And I have evidence. The next morning, I took my first unassisted steps in Andre's therapy room. 5 steps before I collapsed, sobbing. But 5 steps was 5 more than my family thought I'd ever take. We go to the police next week, Aunt Pat said. Are you ready? I've been ready since I hit that cliff. I walked into the living room on a Sunday morning. She walked. Using a walker, trembling, barely stable but walking. Mama dropped her coffee mug. It shattered on the floor. What the hell? Jasmine gasped. Daddy and Leroy froze mid-conversation, staring at me like I'd risen from the dead. In a way I had. Surprise, I said, voice steady despite my shaking legs. All that therapy you complained about driving me to? It worked. Baby, that's amazing. Mama recovered first, rushing toward me. This is a miracle. Our prayers were. Save it, I cut her off. I know what you did. All of it. The room temperature dropped 20 degrees. Tanisha, you're confused, Daddy started. The trauma from your accident. I didn't slip. Jasmine pushed me. I felt both her hands on my spine. I looked directly at my sister. Her face went pale. And then you all left me on that cliff to die. You stole my inheritance, forged my signature, and have been financially abusing me for a year. You can't prove any of that, Leroy said, but his voice cracked. I pulled out my phone and hit play. Their voices filled the room. Conversations about the forged documents, jokes about my accident, plans to get rid of me if I became troublesome. This is manipulated, Mama tried. Edited. Fake. Funny, the forensic audio specialist said the same thing when I told him you'd claim that. He's submitted his authentication report to the district attorney already. The color drained from all their faces. Also, the notary who witnessed my signature on the estate transfer? She's testifying against you for immunity. The bank records show every dollar you stole. And Detective Morris is very interested in reopening the investigation into my attempted murder. Jasmine lunged at me. You ungrateful bitch. After everything we... Aunt Pat stepped in from the kitchen holding her phone up. And that threat is also recorded. Thanks, honey. The arrest happened 48 hours later. I watched from Aunt Pat's living room as police led my family out in handcuffs. Mama was screaming, "This is my daughter. He's lying. She's mentally unstable from her accident." Jasmine struggled against the officers. That money was owed to us. Ruby was our mother. Leroy stayed silent, head down. Daddy tried to maintain dignity, but I saw his hands shaking. Detective Morris came to see me afterward. Your recordings, the financial evidence, the witness testimony, It's an airtight case. The district attorney is charging them with attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and elder financial abuse related to your grandmother. Elder abuse? We investigated further. Your family started the forgery scheme while your grandmother was alive, trying to access her accounts. The pattern was already established. My hands clenched. What happens now? Trial. Probably 8 months out. With your testimony and evidence, conviction is almost certain. Your mother and sister are looking at 20 to 30 years. Your father and brother 15 to 25 as accomplices. I should have felt triumph. Justice. Something. Instead I felt hollow. The community reactions split down the middle. Some people praised me for standing up to abusers. Others whispered that I'd destroyed my family over money, that I was vindictive, that I should have forgiven them. Family is family, one of Mama's church friends told me at the grocery store. What kind of daughter sends her own mother to prison? The kind who was pushed off a cliff and left to die, Aunt Pat snapped back. But the words burrowed under my skin anyway. Hit subscribe if you believe survivors should be believed. My physical recovery continued. I graduated from walker to cane to walking short distances unassisted. Dr. Wilson called it remarkable. I called it revenge fuel. Every step was proof they hadn't broken me. But late at night I still heard Mama's screams as police led her away. Still saw Leroy's devastated face. The courtroom was packed. Mama's church community filled half the gallery, wearing matching Free the Family t-shirts. The other half was filled with supporters holding signs reading Justice for Tanisha. My testimony lasted 4 hours. The defense attorney, a sharp woman named Ms. Crawford, tried to break me. Isn't it true you've always been jealous of your sister Jasmine's success? No. Didn't you harbor resentment toward your mother for years? I harbored hope that she'd love me. There's a difference. Your family claims you've fabricated this entire scenario for money. That you're mentally unstable from your injury. I looked directly at the jury. If I wanted money, I wouldn't have spent $50,000 on surgery to walk again just so I could stand in this courtroom and face them. I'd have stayed silent, stayed dependent, and kept collecting disability checks they were stealing anyway. The prosecutor, a black man named David Washington, presented the evidence methodically. Bank records. Forged documents. Audio recordings. The notary's testimony. Medical records showing I'd been left on that cliff for 6 hours before rescue. Dr. Martinez testified. The injuries Ms. Tanisha sustained were consistent with a fall from significant height. However, the positioning of her body when she was found, wedged between boulders 40 feet down from the trail, makes it highly unlikely she simply slipped. Someone would have heard her screaming. Her family claims they searched for hours but called no emergency services until the next morning. Mr. Moore, the hiker who found me, testified through tears. She was hypothermic, barely conscious. Another hour and she'd have died. I asked her why no one had called for help. She whispered, they knew where I was. The defense presented character witnesses. Church members, neighbors, people who'd known Mama and Daddy for years. They're good people who made a mistake. Mistake. They called attempted murder a mistake. The verdict came back guilty on all counts. Mama collapsed in the courtroom. Jasmine had to be restrained. Daddy sat motionless. Leroy sobbed. Sentencing happened a month later. Mama got 32 years. Jasmine got 28. Daddy got 20. Leroy got 15 with parole possibility in 10. They'd be old when they got out. Broken. If they survived prison at all. I sat in the gallery with Aunt Pat watching my family be led away. Mama turned back one last time, her face aged 20 years, and mouthed, I'm sorry. Too late. Decades too late. The media called me brave. A survivor. An inspiration. The settlement from the estate was restored to me, plus damages. I had enough money to never worry again. But money doesn't fix the nightmares. Doesn't erase the sensation of falling, of lying broken and alone while the sun set and no one came. Doesn't silence Mama's lullabies from my childhood, back when I still believed she loved me. 6 months after sentencing, I started a foundation for abuse survivors, using Grandma Ryby's name. We fund legal aid, medical care, and counseling for people trapped by toxic families. I walk now. Sometimes with a cane, sometimes without. My body healed. My spine strengthened. But late at night, I still hear them in that living room, discussing how easy it would be to stage another accident. Still feel Jasmine's hands on my back. Still taste the betrayal. They took my ability to walk. I took their freedom. But in the hollow space where family used to be, there's nothing but echoes. And Pat tells me I did the right thing. Dr. Williams says I'm courageous. The foundation helps hundreds of people. But when I visit Grandma Ruby's grave, I whisper, I survived, Grandma. But I don't know if surviving was the same as winning. Because here's what nobody tells you about justice. It's necessary, it's right, but it doesn't heal you. It doesn't give you back what was stolen. It doesn't undo the betrayal or erase the scars. I made sure they'd never hurt anyone again. But in destroying them, I destroyed the last possibility of ever having a family. Was it worth it? Ask me tomorrow. And the day after. And every day for the rest of my life. If this story moved you, please share it. Justice matters. Survivors matter. And if you're trapped in a toxic family situation, please reach out for help. You deserve better. You deserve to survive. Even if surviving costs you everything.